organic, unpredictable, unknown, lovely, beautiful, a sense of fulfillment. This is part of the pleasures of life and not the chores of life.
Coming up on Daily Iowan TV, would you want to raise a pet chicken in your home? Well, it may be possible. We'll tell you more.
And we'll explore the similarities and differences between President Obama and Governor Romney's foreign policy plans.
And in sports, how did Kirk Ferentz respond to his team's disappointing loss to Penn State Saturday? Stay tuned.
That's coming your way next. Daily Iowan TV starts now.
I'm Tom Brokaw. For more than 100 years now, the University of Iowa community has been waking up to the Daily Iowan. Today, it's the largest newsroom in eastern Iowa. And now you can see the news every night on Daily Iowan TV and get it anytime worldwide at dailyiowan.com.
Thanks for tuning in to your Tuesday edition of Daily Iowan TV. I'm Allie Wright.
And I'm Alyssa Bergamini. You may already have a dog or a cat for a pet, but soon you may also be able to keep a pet chicken in your backyard. The Iowa City City Council will vote Tuesday evening to approve a motion to discuss the ordinance. Currently, the city prohibits citizens to raise farm animals, including chickens, in any residential area. An Iowa City group called iCluck is in favor of legalizing urban chickens. The group has collected nearly 1,000 signatures from the local residents in support of the ordinance.
And President Obama and GOP presidential candidate Mitt Romney debated on their foreign policy stances Monday night during the third and final presidential debate of 2012's election season. Daily Iowan TV's Anna Theodosis is in the studio to tell us more about the controversial political issue and how it could affect your vote. It's our third part of our week-long series analyzing the issues leading up to the election. Anna?
Thanks, Allie. Voters have a lot to consider before they go to the polls in 2 weeks. But foreign policy is one issue that some experts from the UI say may not really affect voters' opinions. During Monday night's third and final debate focusing on foreign policy issues, presidential candidates Barack Obama and Mitt Romney seemed to have the same intentions concerning issues like Syria and terrorism, but their strategies to go about it differed. Romney said that the United States needs to take a leadership role when it comes to foreign policy. Obama said the country has already taken on the role of a leader. Millions watched the debate Monday night, and a part of those viewers were student voters. With early voting underway in Iowa, some have been asking how big of an impact foreign policy issues have on students while casting their vote for the next president of the United States. While some people say that every issue is equally as important in a presidential election, some experts are saying that issues of foreign policy might not be as important to student voters. One UI political science professor thinks foreign policy issues aren't something that would change the way a student would vote.
Foreign policy issues are probably less important than domestic economic and social issues for undergraduate voters. In general, they have less experience traveling abroad and probably have seen less of the influence that foreign policy has on U.S. politics.
However, another professor thought differently.
So while foreign policy itself, I think, is a very innately important topic because it impacts the U.S. generally, as a policy issue in the campaign is a little, perhaps maybe not less important, but more difficult to discern sort of which candidate's policy you prefer because they're so similar.
With all the debates done, students will now have to consider what issues are important to them while casting their vote. The latest NBC and Wall Street Journal poll says the presidential race is currently tied at 47%. So, Allie, this election is sure to keep us on our toes. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Anna. And even though third-party candidates were not included in the televised presidential debate Monday evening, representatives from the Libertarian Party will have a chance to speak out on the University of Iowa campus Tuesday night. The UI Young Americans for Liberty are hosting a debate in Phillips Hall Tuesday evening. Advocates from liberal, conservative, and libertarian political philosophy groups will participate in the debate.
Still to come on Daily Iowan TV, corn and beans aren't the only crop suffering from extreme weather conditions. We'll tell you how Wilson's Orchard in Iowa City is working to save their apples.
And in sports, we talk with Hawkeye defensive lineman Steve Bigak ahead of a tough test on the road against Northwestern.
That's coming up in just a bit, but now let's check in with Daily Iowan TV's Whitney Blakemore for your local weather forecast. Whitney, today was perfect for fall temperature. Are we going to see more?
Thanks, Alyssa. And lucky for us, the weather will continue to stay nice and warm for tomorrow. The morning will start off in the high 60s with partly cloudy skies and will continue to heat up throughout the day to a high of 79 degrees, with those clouds still sticking around. It will slightly cool back off as our day comes to an end, with temps hitting around 68 degrees. Now, unfortunately, the perfect fall weather will quickly end as we head into the weekend. On Thursday, the high will be up to will still be there about 68 degrees, but don't plan anything outside as there is a 70% chance of thunderstorms. After all that rain, we can expect temperatures to take a large drop for the rest of the week. Friday and Saturday have a high of only 45 degrees and a chilly low around 30. Sunday, expect the same temperatures, but with an even colder low of 27 degrees. And as the weekend comes to an end and we head back to classes, expect it to stay chilly with partly cloudy skies and a high of 48 degrees. So enjoy tomorrow's weather while you can before the storms hit. That's all for weather. Back for tonight. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Whitney. And jurors continue to deliberate in the case of a conservative University of Iowa employee. Teresa Wagner claims she was passed over for a job at the UI Law School because of a liberal bias against her. Jurors are continuing to deliberate whether or not Wagner's constitutional rights were violated. Wagner says she did not receive the job because of her opposition to abortion. UI officials maintain they did not hire her for qualification reasons. The jury's deliberation began on Monday.
We've all heard plenty about how the weather is affecting Iowa crops, but one Iowa City orchard is working to curb the negative effects of unpredictable Iowa weather. Daily Iowan TV's Logan Edwards is here to tell us more.
For most orchards, an early frost is a big cost during apple picking season. The extreme temperatures this spring destroyed the majority of buds on the trees at Wilson's Orchard in Iowa City, resulting in a loss of 95% of their usual harvest. But Wilson's Orchard refuses to let a spring freeze ruin all of the fall fun.
Wilson's Orchard luckily has another source of apples.
That's right, they tapped into their other orchard near Sullen, Iowa, which contains over 11,000 apple trees.
It was not as damaged by that frost as this orchard was, so we lost about 40% of our crop, which meant we still have 60% of our apples. So we have been picking fresh apples all the way through our season.
Wilson's Orchard isn't the only one suffering from this year's extreme temperatures. Orchards across the Midwest have been coping with a less than ideal harvest as well. According to USA Today, many orchards in America's heartland have resorted to shipping in apples from other states or trading different varieties of apples with other orchards to meet customer demands. But Wilson's Orchard says it should not be a problem in eastern Iowa.
Logan Edwards, Daily Iowan TV.
Wilson's apple orchard is open until the end of the month.
The University of Iowa student government will vote Tuesday night on the possibility of forming a sustainability advisory committee. Student government officials say there is a need for that kind of committee to go along with the university's 2020 sustainability vision. The program intends to make the UI 40% energy efficient in the next 8 years.
The United States may soon become the top oil producer in the world. A 7% increase of production in crude oil and other liquid hydrocarbons is expected this year. This leads the U.S. to a point that it can overtake Saudi Arabia as a world leader in production.
And Syrian warplanes struck a rebel-held town in northern Syria Tuesday. The attack was an attempt to reopen a supply route within the country. The attack may mean that a United Nations proposed ceasefire meant to begin later this week is unlikely to happen.
And Jerry Sandusky has been transferred to the state prison, where he will serve his 30-year sentence. Sandusky was moved from the Center County Jail in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. The 68-year-old former Penn State football coach will likely spend the rest of his life at the State Correctional Institute in Camp Hill. Last month, Sandusky was convicted of sexual abuse of 10 boys over a 15-year period.
And now Daily Iowan TV's Annie Constable is here for your look at Hawkeye sports. Annie?
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Daily Iowan TV Sports Studio. It's Tuesday, which means head coach Kirk Ferentz was back up at the podium this afternoon, addressing members of the media after a disappointing 38-14 loss to Penn State Saturday night. Among the topics the head coach discussed were his take on the Black and Gold's trip to Evanston this weekend, the challenge of game planning for the possibility the Hawks' defense will see two quarterbacks, and the threat of Northwestern running back Venrick Mark.
They're a very good football team, and like always, they've got good players. Very well coached, pose a lot of problems for you, and we'll start that work today. So that'll be a big challenge for us, and we'll get to work this afternoon.
Venrick Mark has given Northwestern an aspect of their offense they really haven't had recently with the power speed run game. You talk about what he brings, not just as a running back, but as a return man and the other things they use him for.
Yeah, he's really a dynamic player, and he first showed up, I believe it was 2 years ago. I think it was his true freshman year. He's out of the Houston area. I mean, we looked it up because I was curious just what he was doing on special teams. A lot of it was coverage, covering off, doing some great things there. So he's been a spark for him going back to his freshman year, and now he's growing into a role where he's done a great job.
And while the Hawks head coach seemed more than content to move on from the team's first Big Ten loss of the season, the loss of offensive tackle Brandon Scherff, whose season ended with a broken leg during the game, will undoubtedly hurt more in the long run.
When you talk about Scherff, now that he's gone, how important was he to the offensive line? Because you guys seem to run right an awful lot.
Yeah. He's an excellent football player, a young player, played a little bit last year. And he's improved every week. So the good news is he's got a couple of years left. He's got a great attitude. It was disappointing, certainly. And most disappointing time a player is injured to the player. They work extremely hard, 12 months a year to play 12 games. And to have that taken away is really a hard thing. But his attitude was tremendous Saturday night. You saw that. Everybody saw that in the stadium. And saw him Sunday right after. He got that thing repaired. And his attitude couldn't be better.
While the loss of Scherff will be tough for the Hawks' run game to deal with, the Black and Gold's defense will have an equally tall running back test of their own come Saturday, preparing for the likes of both Marks and Coulter mentioned earlier. This afternoon, I caught up with one of the men responsible with shutting down the third-ranked running offense in the Big Ten, Hawkeye defensive lineman Steve Bigak.
Annie Constable standing alongside Steve Bigak. Steve, this defensive team has faced two pro-style offenses in the past 2 weeks, and now you're going up against one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in the Big Ten. How are you guys going to prepare differently for that?
I think you just trust the plan that the coach has put in place for you. Coach Phil Parker is outstanding defensive coordinator, and he's going to give us a good plan this week. And you just kind of focus on your fundamentals inside the plan and being in the right place. And I think if we have all 11 guys, working that plan, we'll be all right this week and any week for that matter. So.
Northwestern's rushing offense is obviously a threat. So how important will it be to keep Kane Coulter in the pocket?
It's definitely important. When you got a mobile quarterback, you got to be able to keep him contained and then also pressure from inside out. If a guy like that gets loose and you force your DBs to cover for 4 or 5 seconds, it's a recipe for disaster. So definitely got to try to contain an athlete like that, and knowing that he's going to make his plays because he is a tremendous athlete. But doing our best to contain that. So.
And their rushing game is ranked 3rd in the Big Ten right now. Do you guys anticipate that to be a struggle on Saturday?
Well, I think defensively, especially up front, being a defensive lineman, you always take pride in stopping the run, and so that's definitely something that we're going to be focused on this week. But it just comes down to gap integrity, doing your job, and being accountable to the guy next to you. And I think that's what football really is. And defensively, going out there and playing, and then adding that extra element of passion and emotion to the game, it really helps you have a successful unit.
Well, unfortunately, that's all for us here in sports. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Annie. And only with Daily Iowan TV can you get a sneak peek into Wednesday's pages of the Daily Iowan. Read about what the city is doing to assist blind Iowa City residents.
And find out how the upcoming election will have a major impact on energy policy. That's your latest edition of Daily Iowan TV.
Be sure to check us out at the same time tomorrow or anytime online at dailyiowan.com. Thanks for watching and have a great night.